Welcome back to another episode of the Credit Authority. I am so glad that you did not move that dial because this week's show has been all about real estate, financing, and the market. So our final guest would be no different. So in studio with us today is Joe Carrello with U.S. Bank, located right here in Melville, New York. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You know, we talk all the time and we go back and forth and you're like, Rhonda, I have this question for you. Rhonda, I have this client for you. You know, you and I go back and forth all the time and you make my job fun because you're the guy that actually cares about not to say that people don't care about the end result. You actually care about the process. So tell us a little bit about your role at U.S. Bank.
So my role at U.S. Bank is pretty simple. I mean, my job is to get clients to call me to talk about mortgages and then promote what we have to offer. The mortgage business is pretty unique because really at the end of the day, it's a commodity. The rate is the rate is the rate, and clients are calling around to try and find the best rate. You know, my recent kind of like epiphany, or it really isn't, is like, I offer more, like what you just said, than everybody else. You know, I care.
And I can say that, you know, look, I've had this show for years. I've been in the market for a long time, right? My company has been around since 2004, but very few people take the time to actually ask me questions. They usually just say, just take care of it. But you call almost every time, you know, and say, can you explain this to me? I want to understand so that I could better, you're almost being a better advocate for the client and another set of ears. And we've talked about this before too. Clients hear what they want to hear, not necessarily what I said. So when you are part of that process and we're working together with a client, it allows me to feel comfortable and confident that I know you're on my side.
Yes. Well, you said it before. I'm not responsible for the client's current situation that they arrived to me in. Mm-hmm. I didn't create their credit. I didn't create their income. I didn't create their savings. I am here now based on the facts to tell you what I can do to help you. And the challenge for us is that, for me, is I do all the research and I know all the competitors and what everybody offers. And there's really kind of similar sets of guidelines everywhere. It's not really different. And I know when the customer lands someplace, the client lands someplace and is being told the wrong thing. And then I'm trying to unwind and explain that that's not possible. Because I have a professional like you, and you're a pleasure. I mean, I call you up and you answer my questions and you do the right thing every time at the fairest price.
Yeah.
Because there are people in
my space
that don't talk about cost. And, you know, the first question I ask you, what's that going to cost them? Because I'm concerned, like, can they afford it? Is it a fair price?
I just had this question the other day, and somebody new was referred to us, and they said, so what's your fee? And so, well, you know, our fees range depending upon the credit report, if it's a single or if it's a couple. And, you know, look, I'm proud to say it, like our fees will generally be between $500 and $1,000 for the consumer. And they went, that's it?
Correct.
I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I've been using this company, somebody that is based in Nassau County, and they start at $5,000. And in my mind, number one, if they don't produce a result, that's a really big liability. Really big liability.
Agreed.
And number two, most of the clients that we see are trying to purchase their first home. So I'm so aware of the fact that $5,000 could be the difference of whether or not they have enough reserves in the bank, whether or not that $5,000 real. And you've heard me say this before. A client can come to me and maybe their scores, you need 11 points or 15 points. And I'll say to you, Joe, you don't need me. All they need to do is pay down their credit card or call their credit card company and ask for a credit line increase. It does the same thing. It's a utilization issue. It's not a credit issue. They don't have a credit problem. They have a spending problem. And we just need to adjust it.
Yeah. So you've been great because when I call you, you tell me the truth. And that sounds so trivial, but you tell me quickly and it's direct. And then I can tell my client what to do. And then I'm doing the right thing for my client. And you do the right thing for our clients and your clients. And that's who I align myself with.
Which I love,
yeah.
You know.
That's what I love
your business. And there's enough of it. And people will say to me, you know, you just gave away the secret sauce. I go, no, I helped a friend close a deal. There'll be another one behind it.
Yeah, there's plenty of business out there.
There's always.
There's an unlimited abundance of business. It's just you just have to work hard and have a great attitude.
No, I love it.
And it finds you.
And you've been in business for a long time, and we've met through people from the industry, which is how you and I got connected. Right now, the market's definitely a little tough because last year I couldn't get you in the studio. This year, I finally called you and you're like, you know what? I think I can do this. So what are we seeing is the new trend with mortgage professionals with trying to keep themselves busy? I hate to say it like that.
So it's back to the basics. You have to be relevant and whatever that relevant point is, but I think it's multi-touch. I've always been multi-touch. When there was no cell phone or there was no email, truthfully, when I started in the business, there was, but there wasn't. There really wasn't.
I started on a pager. So,
right, and paper, fax, and so forth and so on. I would overnight a package to the client after I spoke to them, and I would stop in real estate offices, and I would make phone calls on the phone. And so there was multi-level touches of communication. I've always believed in that. Well, the multi-level touch of communication is still predominantly the phone, owning or having the client's cell phone and email address, and then being in front of your business partners so that you're top of mind, that say they can refer you business and get you in touch with their clients. And still, nothing's ever changed. It's speed. When someone calls you, they want speed. Now more than ever, people want to talk to you right away. They want the answers right away. You have to be available. But I don't think people are unreasonable. They want you to touch them and then tell you when we're going to finish the conversation. So I think people are great right now, and they understand. The combination of just changing up the way you reach out to people, posting on Instagram, email, things, but really people want valuable content. They want information that is useful to them and is timely. And we're putting that out at US Bank, and I'm putting that out, and people seem to really be appreciating it. And I'm connecting with more people than ever.
And I think what's fair to say is, obviously the consumer is the end result. But what I'm finding is that a lot of the people that I speak with, they're going, it's the weirdest thing. I went and did an open house. I haven't needed to do an open house in years. But it goes back to that old school mentality of shaking hands and meeting people face to face. I think when the market was so easy, that there was very little communication, and relationships that were built over years were lost because you just didn't need it anymore, right? And now people are rebuilding those relationships. But the number one thing that I hear from my mortgage professionals, where their frustration is that you may be in the office, but the realtors are not.
But they're not in the office, but it's even better because they respond to a cell phone call, a phone call. They respond to a text. They are reading your email even when they don't let you know that they're reading your emails. Okay, so they are paying attention to what you're offering. But it's a good thing now because the real estate community is now, and everybody in our line of work seems to be connecting with the best people now, which is a benefit to me.
A lot of people have been filtered out of the industry.
And the people that it's obvious now when someone doesn't do their job, it's glaring. It's glaring. So people are getting attracted to people that are timely with their follow-up, are professional, and the clients are happy. I mean, at US Bank, the one great thing we have, and better than any bank that I've ever worked at, is operational excellence. So I originate a loan. The client has an awesome experience on a digital mortgage platform. The loan flows through from my assistant to the processor, and it's seamlessly right into underwriting, and we're getting commitment letter within a couple of days. The appraisal process has been great.
I'm like having a moment just listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I go to closings, and at other banks I worked, I don't want to mention their names. I wouldn't go to closings because everything at the closing was always like there was a trauma associated with how we got there. There's no trauma. I go to the closings, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, and it's wonderful.
I love it. And this is why we work with Joe Carrello over at US Bank. So, Joe, you've been a pleasure to work with, but if my audience wants to touch base with you, how do they reach you?
Google Joe Carrello, Carrello at US Bank, or joe.carrello at usbank.com, or 516-241-7304.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, you've been listening to The Credit Authority. Catch you next week.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.